Okay, so proceed naman tayo ngayon sa serial bonds. So when you talk about serial bonds, these are basically bonds that has series of payments. So meaning hindi lang minsanan yung pag-collecta natin. So we'll be collecting usually on an annual basis. Okay? So we will have 3 examples. Let's start first with the first problem. So the company purchased 2 million 10% bonds on January 1, 20x1 and classified it as financial asset at amortized cost. The bonds mature in 4 equal annual installments every December 31 starting in 20x1. Interest is due annually every December 31 and the yield rate was 12%. And then on May 1, 20x3, the bonds were sold out 98 plus accrued interest. So the first thing that we need to do here is to determine kung magkano yung amount or yung fair value or basically the present value of the bond. So ang gagawin natin dito, yung first approach na natin will be kunin natin yung principal at saka yung interest dito. And we're going to multiply it by the present value factors. So ang principal natin ay since this is going to be annual, okay, so ang principal natin ngayon, kung annual payment yan, so 4 equal annual installments, so magiging 500,000 yung ating principal. Okay. Pagkatapos yung interest natin, paiba-iba. So basically, what we're going to do here is, bakit paiba-iba yung interest? Kasi mag-iiba-iba din yung ating principal amount kasi mababawasan nga siya. So the best way to do this or to answer this problem is basically to compute for the cash flows per year ng principal at saka ng interest. Okay, so this will be 20x1 hanggang 20x4. Okay, so principal will be 500,000 and this will be the same all throughout hanggang 20x4. Okay, tapos ang interest natin, basically ganito yan, no? Sa first year kasi, ang bonds mo, 2 million pa, times 10%, so that's going to be 200,000. Okay? So, wait lang, isin lang natin yung format. Okay. Tapos, dun sa kasunod na taon, dahil mangongolekta ka na ng 500,000, magiging 1,500,000 na lang yung principal, times 10%, so that's going to be 150,000. Okay? Tapos, mangongolekta ka na ulit ng 500, so magiging 1 million na lang yung principal, times 10%, so that's 100,000. Tapos, yung sa last year, dahil nakakolekta ka na ng 1,500,000, 500 na lang yung principal mo, times 10%, 50,000. Okay. So, our total cash flows will be equal to itong principal cash flow plus yung interest cash flow natin. I-multiply natin ngayon yan sa ating present value factors. So, ang present value factor natin will be based on the ba't ganun yan? Okay, yung ating calculator. Okay, yan. So, anyway. So, ang ating present value factor will be based on the 12%. So basically, ang gagawin mo dyan will be 1.12 tapos divide, dalawang beses tapos enter, hindi pa yan yun. So enter ulit, ito yung first year natin. So copyhin ko na lang to tapos ipipaste ko dito. Okay, naka-format siya, naka-round off, so ayusin ko lang yung formatting niya. Okay. Tapos, balik tayo sa calculator. Isa pang enter. Ito na yung second year. So, paste ko ulit dito. Tapos, isa pang enter para sa third year. Tapos, paste ko dito. Tapos, isa pang enter. Last year. Paste ko ulit dito. So, basically, ito yung ating present value factors. So, i-multiply natin ngayon yung cash flow doon sa ating present value factor para makuha natin yung ating total cash flows. So, total present value. So, kunin natin yung sum ng apat na to. And you will have this amount. So, ibig sabihin, ito yung ating present value ng bonds natin. Ito rin yung amount na i-recognize natin for purposes of computation. Okay, so compute tayo ngayon at gawa na tayo ng journal entries. So ang journal entry natin ngayon for the first muna yung January 1, 20x1 natin, recognize tayo ng financial asset at amortized cost. So bahala ka na ulit kung ano ang account title na gagamitin mo, depende kasi yan sa company. Tapos cash tayo dito. So ang gagawin mo dyan, i-recognize mo yung financial asset amortized cost based doon sa present value na compute natin. Okay. Tapos ang next natin gagawin ay mag-amortize. Okay. By the way, nakalimutan natin, gawa tayo ng amortization table para maintindihan natin kung paano yung mangyari doon sa ating amortization. So gawin na lang natin muna. So this is going to be the year. This is going to be the interest. This is going to be our payment. And this is our carrying value. So yung year natin will be January 20x1 muna, pagkatapos December 20x1 hanggang 20x4. Okay, so yung interest natin dito, depende pa yan kasi magko-compute pa lang tayo, pero yung carrying value natin will be this one. And yung payment natin will be yung total cash flows na na-compute natin doon. Okay, so ayusin na lang natin muna yung format para sure. Okay. So ang interest natin ngayon will be based on the carrying value multiplied by the 12% interest. Oops. Mali yung formula ko. Times 12%. Okay. Tapos paano ulit kukunin yung carrying value? Kunin mo yung original. Idagdag natin yung interest na makokolekta or yung interest na kinita minus yung payment. Okay. So yan yan. Tuloy lang natin yung formula para dire-diretso. So, expected mo naman na at the end of the year, dapat 0 na yan. Okay. So, that is basically the basis of our journal entry. So, on January 1, ito na yung journal entry natin. Ang next natin gagawin will be yung journal entry ng December 31, 20x1, wherein we are going to debit cash. Kasi makakolekta tayo ngayon ng cash na 700,000. Okay. Mag-recognize tayo ngayon dito ng credit to interest income. Ang interest income natin dito ay ito. Tapos yung balancing figure natin, yan ay papasok na sa financial asset at amortized cost. It's going to be ito minus yun. Okay. So kung mapapansin mo, basically, paano lumabas ito, yun din lang yun. Kunin mo lang ito, ibawas mo itong na-amortize na financial asset at amortized cost. Ito yung lalabas na amount. Okay, so to prove, pakita lang natin sa calculator. So that's 1,919,779.11 minus natin itong na-amortize na 469,626.51. So, yun na siya. 1,450, 152.60 or 61. Okay. So, yun na yung amount natin. So, anyway, tuloy lang natin. Punta tayo ng December 31, 20x2. Gawin ulit. Tanggap tayo ng cash. Yung cash na matatanggap natin will be based on this cash flow here. Tapos, interest income tayo. Yung interest income natin will be based on the interest na na-compute doon. And we're going to credit again financial asset at amortized cost. And the amortization will be based on this amount. Yung difference ng dalawang to. So that's going to be ito minus yan. Okay. Next tayo. Nangyari, May 1, 20x3 nagkaroon ng purchase of bonds. So, ang gagawin natin ngayon, gagawin natin yung entry ng May 1, 20x3. Pero again, bago tayo gumawa ng other computation, we need to make sure na alam natin kung magkano na yung balance ng ating bonds as of May 1, 20x3. So, ang gagawin natin, kukopihin ko to Tapos, kokopyahin ko hanggang December, pero papalitan ko yung item niyan. So, ang mangyari will be this, like this. So, oops, sorry, mali yung nakopya. Dapat yung amounts. Okay, so yan. So, ang mangyari ngayon, pagdating ng May 1, 20x3, kailangan kong gumawa ng computation ng aking bonds. Okay, assuming this is going to be May 20x3 lang. So, ibig sabihin magkakaroon ng partial amortization. So, ang gagawin natin will be, kukunin natin yung carrying amount, i-multiply natin ng 12%. Pero, multiply lang natin siya ng, since May yan, so January, February, March, April. So, parang 4 months lang. May 1 kasi yun, kaya 4 months lang talaga. 4 over 12. So, ito yung ating interest. Okay? Pagkatapos, ang payment na i-expect natin dito will be yung payment lang nung interest. Pero yung interest natin will be 4 months din lang ulit. Kasi hindi pa naman tayo umaabot dun sa cash flows. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ang mangyari dyan, magkano ba yung in-expect nating interest? Based on our computation kanina, ang interest dapat natin for this year is 100,000. Pero 4 months lang. So, ibig sabihin, ang gagawin natin sa ating computation dito will be equal to 100,000. Yung attributable for 20x3, pero 4 over 12 or 4 months lang. Okay, so ibig sabihin, ito lang yung ating ine-expect na interest dyan. So, basically, ang ating carrying value will be ito plus yung amortization or yung interest minus yung ating payment na ina-expect. Okay? So with that, pwede na tayong mag-proceed. Gawa na tayo ngayon ng journal entry. So kung natin gagawin journal entry, will be yung pag-recognize ng accrued interest income, which is going to be credited to interest income. Okay? Kasi take note, lahat ito later on ay ibebenta natin. Kasi kasama yun dun, no, sa ating pagbebenta ng bonds later on. So, ang magiging accrued interest income natin, isama natin yung amortization para diretso. So, ang interest income natin dito, based on the amortization table is ito. Okay? Yung accrued interest income natin, based on the payment is ito lang. So, ibig sabihin, magkakaroon tayo ng debit dito na financial asset at amortized cost. Oops. Okay. So, this will be ito minus yung yun. So, meron tayong this amount. Okay. Which is going to basically be the reason kung bakit tumaas yung ating carrying value. Okay. Bakit importante yan? Kasi, dun sa next na journal entry natin, wherein tatanggap na tayo ng cash at magde-recognize na tayo ng mga binenta natin. So, basically, magkano muna yung cash? So, yung cash natin, sinabi, the bonds were sold at 98 plus accrued interest. Okay. So, ang tanong, nung May 31, 20x3, magkano na lang ba yung bonds natin? Eh, di ba nakakolekta ka na ng dalawang 500,000? So, ibig sabihin, 1 million na lang yung naiiwan. So, that's going to be 1 million times 98% or 0.98. Okay. Tapos, idagdag natin yung accrued interest na 33,333. So, ito yung total na amount na tatanggap natin dyan. Ano yung mga ibebenta natin? Ibebenta natin yung accrued interest na yun din lang yun, yung 33,333. Ibebenta din natin yung financial asset at amortized cost na ang amount ay ito. So, ang tanong ngayon, kung ito yung total proceeds mo, pagkatapos ito yung mga give up mo, ano ba to? Gain or loss? So, malamang loss to, no? Tingnan natin. Loss on sale. Okay. So, ang mangyari will be ito plus ito minus ito. So, tama ba? Oops, hindi. Hindi pala loss. Gain pala to. So, ibig sabihin, may gain ka pang maliit. So, credit tayo dito ng, kasi hinahanap natin yung balancing figure eh. So, anyway, gain pa pala siya. Gain on sale. So, may gain ka pa na maliit na amount. So, that's going to be ito minus yun at saka yun. So, meron ka pang gain on sale na 195 pesos. So, yan yung entry natin ng May 1. So ulitin lang natin. So this is our computation to determine the present value of the bonds, which will be the basis of our initial recognition. Ito yung amortization na magiging basis natin ng journal entries. Okay? So ito yung journal entry natin ng January 1. Ito yung December 31 journal entry natin based on the amortization table. Ito naman yung 20x2 based on the amortization table. At ito naman yung journal entry natin. Tuloy natin. Ito yung journal entry natin ng May 1, 20x3 nung binenta natin yung bonds. Okay? And this is, the figures here are based on the partial amortization that we had or that we did nung May 20x3. Okay, so yan yung first example natin. We are now going to proceed with the next example. So ito naman tayo. So, same information, pero ang difference niya, the bonds will mature in different amounts for every year. Okay, walang problema kahit magkakaiba yung amounts, basta ang importante alam mo kung paano mag-compute ng present value, and this time the present value is actually 12% din lang daw. So same lang, 12% ang ating yield rate. Tapos nung July, binenta natin yung bonds, July 1, 20x3. So ano muna gagawin natin? Computein muna natin yung cash flow. So this will be the year, this will be the principal, this will be the interest, and this will be the total cash flows. Tapos kunin natin yung present value factor. Tapos dito yung present values later on. So year will be 20x1 hanggang 20x4. Okay, kasi ayun yung nakalagay hanggang 20x4. So, ang principal daw natin, cash flows So, ang makokolekta daw natin, 300, 400, 500, 800. Oops. Ayusin ko na lang yung format. Oops, sobra. Okay, so ayusin natin yung format nito. Tapos itong present value factor should be formatted as yan. Okay, so ayos na natin. So, magkano naman ngayon yung interest natin? So, basically ganito. Ang interest natin ng 20x1, assuming wala pa munang collection, kasi ito collection na to sa year end pa. So, ibig sabihin, 200,000 pa rin ang interest natin dito. Or basically, 2 million times 10%. Okay? Kasunod na taon, dun sa ating 20x2, di ba nakakolekta ka na ng 300,000. So, ibig sabihin, ang may iwan na lang na principal sa'yo will be 1,700,000 times 10%, 170 na yun. Okay? Next, sa 20x3, nakakolekta ka na ng 700,000. So, ang may iwan na lang sa'yo, 1,300,000 times 10%, that's 130,000. Okay? Pagkatapos, sa 20x4, ang nakolekta na lahat sa'yo will be ito. So, basically, 800 na lang yung may iwan sa'yo. Times 10%, so that's 80,000. Okay? So, yan yung ating interest. So, ang total cash flow mo will be principal plus yung interest dito. Total natin. So, yan yung lalabas na amounts. Ang next natin gagawin dyan will be to compute for the present value factors. So, ang present value factor natin will be based on 12% ulit. So, pwedeng kopyahin na lang natin yung nasa previous na problem, or basically, try na lang natin isolve ulit para masanay tayo. So, this is going to be 1.12. Tapos, divide dalawang beses. Tapos, enter. So, yung first na enter, kapag 1 yung lumabas, hindi pa yan yung unang present value. Next na enter, ito na yung first na present value natin. So, kopyahin natin yan. Yun yung present value factor for year 1. Enter ulit natin. Lalabas yung present value for year 2. Paste ulit natin. Enter ulit. Present value for year 3. Tapos, last, enter mo ulit. Ito yung present value for year 4. Oops. Okay, so, paste. Tapos, ang gagawin mo na lang is to multiply the total cash flows by the present value factors for you to get the total present value of the entire cash flows. And total natin, ito na yung ating present value. So, ang next na lang natin gagawin is for us to compute or to prepare the amortization table. This is our year. This will be our interest. This is going to be the payments. And this is going to be the carrying value. And this will be the amounts ng January 20x1, then December 20x1, hanggang 20x3. Hanggang 20x4, I mean. Okay, so yun. Bisin lang natin. Okay, so carrying value muna natin. Ang carrying value natin is based on the computation there. Ang interest natin will always be based on the carrying value multiplied by the yield rate or market rate, which is 12% in this problem. Okay, tapos yung payments natin will be yung total cash flows na na-compute natin dyan. So yun. Tapos paano makukuha yung updated na carrying value? Kunin mo yung beginning carrying value, dagdag mo yung interest, bawas mo yung payments. Okay. So, ganun lang yun. Tapos, forward mo ulit to. So, syempre, ang expected mo lang, dapat 0 na siya at the end of year 4. Kasi mababayaran na lahat. Okay, so that will be the basis of our computation. We are now ready to prepare our journal entries. So, this will be our entry ng January 1, 20x1. Entry natin ng January 1, 20x1 will be to debit financial asset at amortized cost. Tapos, credit tayo ng cash. Okay, so magkano ulit yun? Kung magkano yung initial na carrying value. Next na gagawin natin will be yung December 31, 20x1. Wherein we are going to recognize a debit to cash. Kasi makakatanggap tayo nitong payment na to. Tapos, magkikredit tayo dito ng interest income. Ang interest income natin will be based on this one. Tapos, based on this, expected nang mangyari ay magkakaroon tayo ng credit to financial asset at amortized cost, which is the difference between dito at saka to. Okay. So, yan yung December 31, 20x1. Proceed tayo sa December 31, 20x2. So, gawin ulit, debit ka ng cash. Ang cash na matatanggap natin will be ito. Yung base sa na-compute natin dito. Tapos, credit ulit tayo ng interest income. Ang interest income natin will be ito. Tapos, based on that information, magkakaroon tayo ng credit to financial asset at amortized cost. That is going to be yung difference ng dalawang to. Yun. So, yun din yung reason kung bakit bumababa yung value dito kasi nagkakaroon ng credit dito. Okay. So, next na gagawin natin will be to prepare our entries ng this time, July 1. So, July 1, 20x3. Pero bago natin gawin yung entry ng July 1, 20x3, kopyahin muna natin yung amortization natin at gagawa tayo ng partial amortization. That's going to be for, oops, mali yung kopya. Mali na naman, okay. So, anyway, kopyahin ko lang. Okay, so, gagawa tayo ng partial amortization hanggang July 20x3, which is basically, kung July 1 yon hanggang June lang talaga. Kasi wala namang nangyari ng July 1 kasi beginning of the month pa lang yan. Okay, so ang gagawin natin, for July 1, 20x3, kuha tayo ng interest nitong carrying amount natin, times, so ang interest rate natin ay 12%. Pero, hanggang July 1, or basically 6 months lang yun. So, 6 over 12. Okay? Tapos, ganun din dito, sa ating payment, ang ina-expect mo lang na payment muna, kung July ang usapan, will be yung ating interest lang. So, based on our previous amortization, ang interest dapat natin ng year 3, 130,000. Pero, 130,000 yung pang buong taon. So kung kukunin natin yung kalahating taon lang, so that's going to be 130,000 divided by 2 or 130,000 times 6/12 kung gusto mo. So yan yun. So basically, anong mangyari dito? Ang ating carrying value will be equal to ito, yung nauna, plus yung interest minus yung payment natin na ina-expect, which is yun. So ito ngayon yung ating carrying value, tataas tayo konti. Okay, so yan yung basis ngayon ng ating journal entry. So yung first na journal entry natin will be to recognize accrued interest income. And the accrued interest income will be based on yung matatanggap nating payment dito later on. Tapos, credit tayo ng interest income. Ang interest income naman natin ngayon will be based on the partial amortization na ito. So, expected, magkakaroon tayo ng debit ng financial asset at amortized cost. And the amount will be yung difference nitong dalawang to. So, yan siya. Next entry natin, tatanggap na tayo ng tanggap tayo ngayon ng cash dito. Ang cash na matatanggap, sinabi, on July 1, 2023, the bonds were sold at 101 including the accrued interest. So, ibig sabihin, yung 101 na matatanggap natin is already equivalent to the total proceeds for the principal and the accrued interest. So, ang tanong ngayon dyan, magkano yung ating naiiwan na bonds? So, kung 20 extra ang pinag-uusapan, ang nakolekta pa lang natin ay yung 300 at saka yung 400. So, in other words, 700 pa lang nakokolekta natin, ang naiiwan pa lang, ang naiiwan pa is 1,300,000 dun sa bonds natin. Multiply natin yan ng 1.01. So, ito yung ating proceeds. Okay? So, yan yung proceeds natin. Ano yung mga isosurrender natin? Isosurrender natin yung accrued interest income, which is equivalent to 65,000. So, surrender din natin yung financial asset at amortized cost. Ang amount niyan based doon sa ating partial amortization, ito. Okay? So, looking at this information, feeling ko loss na to. Okay? So, recognize natin ngayon dito ng loss on sale. So, magkano yung loss on sale natin? That's going to be ito plus ito minus natin yung proceeds. So, lugi ka ngayon ng 26,872.45. Okay, so yan yung entry natin sa second problem natin. So, yan yun. So, balikan lang natin. Ito yung ginamit nating computation para makuha yung present value. Ito yung ating amortization table, which will be the basis of our journal entries kung magtuloy-tuloy hanggang December. Okay? Kaya ang nangyari dyan, gumawa tayo ng entries ng January 1, December 31, 20x1, tsaka December 31, 20x2. However, hindi natin pwedeng masundan itong amortization na to all throughout kasi noong July 1, nagkaroon ng bentahan ng bonds. So, nung binenta natin siya, we're going to prepare this entry. And before we do this is we need to make sure na tama yung amortization table natin. So, gagawa tayo ng partial amortization hanggang July 1, 20x3. And that will be the basis of our entries here. Kaya ito yung entry natin ng July 1, 20x3 nung nagkaroon tayo ng bentahan. Okay. So, yan na yan. Proceed tayo sa last problem. So, this is now actually similar siya doon sa ating previous problem. Magmamature daw ng 4 equal annual installments, pero ang problema, deferred yung annuity natin kasi ang payment natin is actually starting pa ng 20x3. Okay? So, anong mangyari ngayon dyan? Ibig sabihin, ganito yan. So, gagawa ulit tayo. Ito yung year natin. Ito yung principal. Ito yung interest. Ito yung total cash flows. Ito yung present value factor. Okay? So, year natin will be 20x1. Tapos, dire-diretso tayo. 20x1, 20x2, tapos 20x3 kasi yun yung ating first year ng payment. So, dito tayo magbibilang ng 4 years. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, ibig sabihin hanggang 20x6 tayo magkakaroon ng cash flows. Okay? So yung cash flows natin hindi magsa-start, yung cash flows ng principal will not start until 20x3. Dito kasi magsa-start yung 4 equal annual installments na 500,000. Okay, so ibig sabihin yung 500,000 na ating cash flows will be dito magsisimula yan. Okay, ayusin lang natin yung format. Okay. Which means na yung interest natin for 20x1, since walang collection, and basically yun naman yung first year natin, 200,000 yan. Oops, sobra. Okay. 20x2, ganun ulit, wala pa namang collection ng principal, so 200,000 pa rin ang ating interest dyan. Pagdating ng 20x3, ganun pa rin kasi itong collection mong itong 500,000 na to will be at the end of the year. So, ibig sabihin, 200,000 pa rin ang interest mo dyan. Pagdating ng 20x4, that's the only time na bababa na ng 500 yung ating principal. So, magiging 1,500,000 na lang yun. Times 10%, that's going to be 150,000. Tapos, 20x5, nakakolekta ka na ng dalawang 500. So, 1 million na lang yun na iiwan. Times 10%, 100,000. Tapos, yung huling taon, nakakolekta ka na ng 1,500,000. So, 500,000 na lang may iwan. Times 10%, 50,000. Okay. Giving our total cash flows at ito plus ito. Okay. So, 200,000, 200,000, 700,000, 650, 600, and 550,000 for the years 20x1 hanggang 20x6. So with next na concern natin will be yung computation ng present value factor. So ngayon 8% ang ating yield rate. So ibig sabihin ang gagawin natin dyan, kukuha tayo ng present value 8%, so that's going to be 1.08, tapos divide dalawang beses. Unang enter kapag 1 yung lumabas, hindi pa yan yan. So, isa pang enter. This will be the first year. Kopyahin ko. Tapos, paste ko dito. Maya ko na usin yung format. Isa pang enter. Second year na yan. Kopyahin ko ito. Ito yung second year natin dito. Isa pang enter. Third year. Kopyahin ko. Isa pang enter. Fourth year. Ito yung kopyahin ko. So, pang enter. 5th year na to. Paste. Tapos isa pang enter last. Ito na yung ating pang-6 na taon. So, using ko lang yung format para maging consistent siya. Okay. And we will be multiplying the total cash flows by our present value factor. At total natin dito para makuha natin yung total present value. So this is our total present value here, which will now be the basis of our journal entry, or amortization table muna tayo bago mag-journal entry. So ito yung year, ito yung interest, ito yung payments, ito yung carrying value. So the year will be January 20x1, tapos December 20x1 hanggang 20x6. Yan. Ang interest natin mamaya pa, unahin muna natin yung carrying value. Ito. Ang interest natin dito will be based on the carrying value multiplied by 8%. Ang payments natin, para diretso, kopyahin na lang natin yung total cash flows doon. Okay. So, ang ating carrying value now will be equal to yung unang carrying value or the initial plus the interest minus the payments. So, forward ko muna ganyan, pati ito, forward ko na lang muna dito. Yeah. So, based on this information, using ko lang muna yung format, dapat at the end of the amortization years natin, okay, dapat pare-parehas na yung ating amounts at mag-zero out na siya. Yun. So, basically, zero out na tayo dito sa year-end kapag masunod yung ating amortization. Okay. So, anong gagawin natin ngayon dyan? Ang nangyari, Nung June 1, 20x3, doon tayo nagbenta ng bonds. Okay, so anyway, tuloy lang natin para at least may idea tayo. So ang gagawin natin, gagawa tayong journal entry ng normal amortization hanggang 20x2. Okay, so start natin, simulan natin yung entry natin ng January 20x1, which will be debit to financial asset at amortized cost and credit to cash, and the basis or the amount will be yung initial na na-compute natin. Okay, next tayo, December 31, 20x1. Recognize tayo ngayon dito ng cash kasi makatanggap tayo ng cash na 200,000. Tapos interest income tayo dito. Interest income natin based on the information above is ito, which means that we also need to credit financial asset at amortized cost at the amount of the difference between the cash received and the interest income. So ito yung amortization, which is the reason kung bakit bumaba yung ating carrying value dito. Next tayo, punta ulit tayo ng December 31, 20x2. Recognize ulit tayo ng debit sa cash. Tapos malamang amortized cost ulit. Tapos interest income ang ating item. So ang cash na matatanggap natin, same ulit, 200,000. Pagkatapos yung ating interest income is yung 169 doon, giving us an amortization of the financial asset na 30. Yun yung reason kung bakit bumaba ulit yung ating present value dito or yung carrying value. So, ang mangyari ngayon dyan, next na mangyari will be kailan nagbenta? June 1. Okay? So, this is going to be June 1, 20x3. So, ang nangyari, binenta daw natin yung lahat ng bonds at 102 plus accrued interest. So, ang mangyari ngayon dyan, 102, tapos idadagdag pa natin yung accrued interest. Okay? So, bago natin gawin yan, copy ulit natin to. And we need to make sure na tayo ay ano ba yan? Sorry, naulit. Mali na naman. Okay, so anyway, gagawa tayo ng partial amortization ngayon dito for June 1, 20x3. Okay? So kung June 1, 20x3 yan, magko-compute tayo ng interest that's going to be based on the carrying value ng December 20x2 multiplied by 8%. Tapos multiply din natin ng, this is June 1, so January, February, March, April, May. So basically 5/12. Hindi mo ibibilang yung June kasi June 1 yon. Tapos ang payment dito, based on the in-expect nating payment na, syempre as of this moment, ang in-expect pa lang nating payment will be yung payment ng interest. So, ang in-expect nating payment ng interest for 20x3 is 200,000. Okay? So, ang gagawin natin, 200,000 times ilan to? 5/12 din, para pantay. Okay? So, ang mangyari ngayon, paano natin makukuha yung carrying value as of June 1? Kunin mo yung carrying value ng last year, dagdag mo yung interest dito, bawas mo yung payment na matatanggap mo dito. So, ito yung ating carrying value. Bababa pa siya konti. So, anong gagawin natin muna? For June 1, 20x3, ang una natin gagawin will be to recognize the accrued interest income. Credit tayo ng interest income. Tapos, balancing figure natin mamaya yung ating amortization. So, ang accrued interest income will be based on the expected payment. Ang interest income lang natin will be based on the partial amortization na na-compute natin doon. Expected ngayon, meron tayong credit na financial asset at amortized cost, which is the difference between these two. Okay, so yun. Kaya ang nangyari, bumaba to. Kasi yun yung amortization niya. Partial lang naman. Okay. Next, gawa pa ulit tayo ng isa pang journal entry kasi this time tayo ay tatanggap na ng cash. So, ang cash na tatanggapin natin will be 102 or 102% nung carrying value ng bonds. Tapos, idadagdag pa natin yung accrued interest. So with that, since wala pa naman tayong nakolektang bonds, 2 million pa rin yung bonds natin, multiply mo ng 1.02, tapos idagdag mo yung accrued interest na 83. So ito yung total na cash na matatanggap mo. Tapos, ang iso-surrender natin dito will be yung accrued interest income at saka yung financial asset at amortized cost. So, ang accrued interest income na surrender natin will be yung naka-debit din doon kanina. Ang amortized cost natin will be based dito. Dito sa ating June 1 amortization. So, looking at this amount expected, there will be I think this is a loss. So, loss yata to. Pag nagkamali, edi ilipat natin. So, loss on sale tayo dito, which is basically the difference between ito plus ito. Bawas natin yung cash. So, yun. Nalugi nga tayo. Lugi tayo ng 32,000. Okay. So, balikan lang natin. So, paano ulit ang gagawin mo? Based on the information given, ang gagawin mo muna ulit is to compute for the present value. Understand muna na kailangan mong alamin kung ano yung total cash flows at saka yung present value factors. The computation here will be the basis of our amortization table. The amortization table will be the basis of your journal entries. So, these are the entries from January to December 20x2. And these are all based on the original amortization table. However, nung June 1 kasi nagkaroon tayo ng sale, so hindi na natin hinintay na mag-mature yung mga bonds, binenta na natin siya agad. So in that case, kailangan natin gumawa ng partial amortization nung bonds as of June 1. And based on the information, ito dapat yung lalabas. And this is also the basis of our journal entry nung June 1 dito. And ang result ay nagkaroon ng loss. Okay, so yan yung item natin doon sa ating problem. So this is going to be our example for the serial bonds. Okay? And yung next na video natin will now be a summary of the concepts relating to the amortization of your bonds or those items that are at amortized cost. Okay? So stop muna tayo dito.